Hey guys, it's me, it's Shazam, and as you can probably hear, I've found a solution to fixing my mic, which didn't really need fixing, the problem was with the laptop. But anyway, I'm just making this video to make sure everything is really okay so I can proceed with making more videos. But first, I haven't formally thanked you guys for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. I know I'm like 3 months late. I really appreciate it, honestly. I'm a guy who kinda has what I would call, I don't know, do I call it outlandish theories or ways of scaling? I don't know. But you've been around through all that with me, and I really appreciate it. And your response to my last video, as much as I didn't like the quality of the video, it was pretty positive. It made my day. So thank you guys so much for that. Anyway, so where was I again? Wait, I was nowhere. I was just gonna say, the Sannin slander must stop. How many times have I seen stuff like Shisui scaling above the Sannin when he's arguably weaker than Part 1 Itachi, or Sakumo being above all three combined, despite the fact that it was his name that's more well known than theirs, and even if he was stronger than all of them, that's referring to the Second War's Sannin, since that was the last time all three participated together, and it was stated that during his time he was stronger than them. In this video, I'll be going over why none of the Sannin are a joke, and in fact they are some of the strongest ninjas before the Six Paths scrap, even someone who gets clapped by every person he fights. Orochimaru. First, I want to talk about Tsunade. She invented the 100 healings sometime after the Second War, since Orochimaru didn't know about it. As far as we know, a technique that is on par with Hashirama's healing, which is in his cells. You know, the cells everyone wants to get their hands on, and they still fail. Tsunade developed something that powerful. If this isn't genius, then I don't know what is. In that state, she's practically immortal since she can regenerate limbs, and thanks to a show that shouldn't exist, we know that regeneration in Naruto does include decapitation. At least it's possible. I'm not saying Tsunade's regeneration also includes that, but it's fair to say that. Her strength was enough to break Madara's ribcage. Granted, it took multiple hits before, but we know Madara has the strongest chakra among the Uchiha, making his Susanoo more durable than any other Susanoo we've seen. For reference, the Raikage easily broke Sasuke's ribcage Susanoo. Meanwhile, with multiple hits, he failed to do so with Madara's Susanoo, although he was being amped by Onoki. Now, since his Rinnegan was fake in his Edo form, I'm not sure if he has Six Path Chakra as well, but assuming he does, which makes sense because he also had perfect Susanoo, which was never shown to be possessed by anyone unless they had Six Path Chakra. For example, Sasuke and Kakashi. Also Madara, we've only seen a full body Susanoo in the flashback, no perfect Susanoo, except in the anime. It also makes sense because he still had Hashirama cells on top of his Uchiha blood. Based on that, Tsunade was able to break a Six Paths powered Susanoo ribcage. She managed to survive getting cut in half for an extended period of time while being the only one of the 5 Kage still conscious, despite taking the most amount of damage and focusing her chakra on healing them. In the 4th data book, Tsunade doesn't have Yin release, whereas Sakura does, and has 3.5 in Genjutsu, and was considered incredibly skilled at Genjutsu resistance because of that. Meanwhile, Tsunade without it still has 3 in Genjutsu, leading me to believe that the Genjutsu stats represent a combination of Genjutsu skill and resistance. Since not having Yin release means you don't have affinity for Genjutsu, so what's the point of the 3 in Genjutsu that Tsunade has? Now this is just what I believe, it's not a fact, but that should represent Genjutsu resistance. She was also said to be basically the reason the Leaf won the second Shinobi War due to her healing abilities, and also because she presented the idea of adding a healer as the 3rd member of the squad, or the 4th, technically. Tsunade, while having the least amount of feats and screen time, managed to show feats in durability and raw strength beyond almost everyone in the series, and rivaled even Hashirama in that department. A comparison that can be made for the majority of characters. Moving on to Orochimaru. Now Orochimaru is probably the most disappointing villain in Naruto, and this goes on even in Boruto as well. But that doesn't affect his power now, does it? Orochimaru might be weak in taijutsu for a Sannin and lacks the stamina, but he makes up for it with his intelligence, knowledge in jutsu, and of course his regen. What's bad is that we didn't get to see any of his jutsu, specifically the ninjutsu, because his arms were sealed, so we don't have enough feats of those, but his knowledge in ninjutsu might be restricted for the most part to forbidden jutsu. He was able to learn the Edo Tensei, obviously an S-rank jutsu, the transference technique, which is also an S-rank jutsu, giving him practically immortality, which gives him the ability to regenerate whenever he's damaged with the help of the White Snake abilities, since it isn't his real body. However, it doesn't exhaust his chakra, but it does limit his time in his body according to what we've seen, since it keeps rejecting him. He's also a master at genjutsu, a 5 out of 5 in fact, but unfortunately he doesn't seem to use it unless it's against someone with the perfect counter to him like Sasuke or Itachi. Orochimaru might be the weakest Sannin physically, but his specialty is regeneration and rebirth. That means no matter how many times he's killed, he'll find a way to be resurrected. But that also comes at a cost. He's super arrogant and overestimates his ability, trying to steal Itachi's body, then not learning from his mistake and not dodging the Totsuka blade. Basically, he isn't cautious because he can't die, and that's what gets him killed, especially against someone as sharp as Itachi. In the flashback where he first was caught in Itachi's genjutsu, in the anime we see Kabuto rescuing Orochimaru. However, in the manga that wasn't shown, so assuming that it's not Kabuto, I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm saying assuming that it wasn't Kabuto, then Orochimaru had a way to escape, which makes sense. Orochimaru always has a way to escape something. So no matter how much stronger Itachi is incapable of killing Orochimaru, and we've seen that twice now. Did I mention Orochimaru also devised a way to utilize a weaker version of Sage Mode through the curse mark? He possesses all 5 nature transformations along with Yin and Yang release, something that wasn't accomplished by many, not even Hashirama. And to add on to that, after the fight with Kabuto, Sasuke wanted to revive Orochimaru and claims that Suigetsu was underestimating him, and then Suigetsu claims that Sasuke was the one underestimating him because he only lost due to the loss of his arm. This implies that Orochimaru at full power would be relative to EMS Sasuke. Now granted, he said he couldn't kill Sasuke at the time because we know it was only a fragment of his chakra since he was revived from Anko's curse mark. Plus, he didn't have his arms anyway, so Orochimaru is still that powerful, even in the war arc. Saving the best for last, it's time to talk about the strongest Sannin, the Madman of the Leaf, and the great sage Jiraiya. A guy begged to become Hokage by the elders. Hiruzen saw him as his successor with the most missions accomplished in the history of Konoha. The teacher of 3 of the greatest leaders in the world of Naruto. Someone implied to have more chakra than even Tsunade in base, who had the Byakugo along with her Senju and Uzumaki blood. Praised as the greatest ninja by Minato himself, acknowledged as a superior to Pain, Itachi, and Kisame. Ended the fight with Konan in a second, someone whom even Obito struggled to a degree with. The guy who was cloned in hopes of defeating the strongest Otsutsuki. I can go on and on. I should probably make a playlist named Jiraiya Wank and get it over with. He's shown probably the most amount of techniques in the series in the very few fights he had. His strongest set of skills deal little to no damage. He specializes in capture techniques. He faces Itachi and Kisame, uses a capture technique. Rain Genin, capture technique. Faces Konan, capture technique. What can you say about a guy who shows up in front of 2 S-rank criminals with a girl on his shoulder, preaching about how sexy he is? And he most certainly is. Check out the rest of my Jiraiya Wank videos that are filling my channel to get a better view on this whole thing. Upon closer look at the Sannin, I realized they all have similar powers. Jiraiya has ninjutsu and super strength through Sage Mode. Orochimaru has ninjutsu and regen, while Tsunade has super strength and regen. I just find that cool. They all share the same abilities, essentially. I guess I said everything I needed to say about the Sannin. They remained OP even after the war, and Team 7 kept being praised simply as students of the Sannin time and time again. And that's not because they'd lose to freaking random ninjas in the war. They'd probably stump the other 4 Kage at the war if they team up against them. Anyway, this is gonna be it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe, please, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.